Yesterday we drove through the Burr Trail. Found out that the majority of Burr Trail Road in the beginning was actually paved. It was a surprise to us. We were expecting it to be all dirt, but it was beautiful. Drove through a canyon out there. Eventually we finally hit some dirt. Then we went down the Burr switchbacks. Those were pretty awesome.
Which were dirt.
Which were dirt, yes. They were dirt. They were on the dirt section of the road, thank goodness. We were all getting really concerned that it was going to be paved. And from there we headed off to Cedar Mesa Campground, which is where we're at right now. Pulled in here. It was definitely different than I was expecting. I don't know what everybody else was thinking. But we ended up each getting our own individual campsite out here. It's a pretty nice camp area though. Kind of out here in the middle of nowhere. They have a bathhouse with a pit toilet. So that was a nice surprise. I'm sure for the ladies especially. But then we went back, packed everything up, and probably one of the, it was beautiful out there. A lot of stuff we saw was beautiful, but I was standing on top of the truck and just, you were kind of at a low point in the valley, but you could see off in the distance all the mountains surrounding you. And you could see snow caps way off in the distance. And then behind you, you've got desert and you've got rock faces. It was just, the stark contrast was just amazing. And it just full panoramic 360 degree. On top of the truck, you're above all the shrubbery, so you could just see everything. It was just absolutely gorgeous. It was one of those moments that you just kind of stop and kind of have a, wow, I'm really here. Like, this is really happening. We've been planning this for a year, dreaming about it, and here it is. It was just absolutely gorgeous.
We continued our way up to Goblin Valley. We did have to hit quite a stretch of pavement. We broke up the pavement by doing a little kind of a jaunt up to the Fremont River. We've seen a couple of people do it. We thought it'd be cool to get the trucks wet a little bit, rinse off some of the dust on the tires. So we did, there's a little loop where you can kind of cross the Fremont River twice. And it was a very cool scenic change for us.
We have a trail obstruction.
As we're kind of coming around the trail, there's this free-range cow, and it's like bigger than my truck. We don't have free-range cows around where we live, so that was a little bit of a surprise.
There's a sight for you.
It was a really cool river crossing, nothing dangerous, so we were able to cross it quickly and get some cool footage and rinse off the cars a little bit. It was a loop, so we crossed it back and hopped back on the highway from there and headed up to Goblin Valley.
Goblin Valley is very interesting because there's a lot of space and Martian type movies that they film there because of the unique hoodoos, the rock structures that are just very interesting looking. So another interesting part about this park is you can literally go climb on everything there. So most parks will tell you, don't climb on this, don't touch this, you know, but this park, they really encourage you to just have fun.
What it looks like when you get burned earlier in the day. You don't want to get burned later in the day. Look like an idiot.
You kind of look like Indiana Jones.
No, I don't. But that would be the dream come true.
You're just missing the whip.
There's a whip.
The cool whip.
If you have a satchel, you can get your satchel.
Ooh,
I
yeah.
have a satchel. I carry one to work every day. And it has a whip in it.
So we get out there and we're wandering around, and Kevin and I start playing video tag. We're chasing each other around the hoodoos and trying to video each other. It was kind of fun. Gotcha. Oh crap, where'd he go?
What are you doing?
Trying to get the shot. Shh, nobody needs to know I'm here.
They're facing us now. It's more about watching them.
This is real rock climbing. And just like that, Ethan was born.
You made it.
Yeah.
Hey, what's up,
Guys. Yeah. Your whistle doesn't work very well.
I'm not blowing it very hard. It still doesn't work.
So that was kind of cool. It was, you know, being cramped in the car for, you know, hours on end, essentially driving, to be able to get out and kind of wander around, even though it was really, really hot. It was really cool to go and explore like that. It was kind of a stress reliever for me. I think it was for everybody else too.
All right, we're done. We're headed up to Canyonlands. We got to see Goblin Valley, which is really awesome. So, interesting mix of rocks makes these interesting structures. So, well, we're gonna go hit a green trail, a medium trail, and hopefully do that before dark.
And we're asking to keep the distance between vehicles a little bit farther away for safety and for visibility. Copy.
It was starting to come later in the evening, so we were hunting for a campsite. We had one marked on the trail towards the end of the trail, but it looked fairly short, so we thought we could get there at night initially.
We end up going down this road. You know, we think we know where we're going. We had, you know, everything's plotted out on the GPS.
And there's a marking that says this is a trail, but I didn't necessarily remember what all the signs meant, all the symbols meant on it. Apparently one of those meant that it was an ATV trail, which we shortly found out probably 100 yards down the trail when it just shrank down to the point where it was going to be too dangerous. So
we go back to a point and I'll get out and kind of have a brainstorm. We're all a little frustrated at this point. We didn't record it. You know, it's one of those moments that you don't get on camera because we're all, you know, kind of on that brink.
thankfully, the Fun Treks book has a campsite marked at the beginning of the trail and at the end of the trail.
Say, all right, look, we're not going to get to where we wanted to go. There is a campsite right here. It's before anything that is any obstacle that's medium rated. It's before any of that. Let's just make camp. So we make the decision. We all get in our trucks. Everybody's kind of silent, and we drive down to the campsite.
And this campground, I mean, other than one small little stick in the ground, there was no other markings, but it was marked on the map. That's how we knew it was there. we set up camp, and we even did some long exposure shots next to a couple of the trucks with some of the lights and stuff, which turned out really cool. But that was really bizarre because we didn't quite know what we were going to find the next morning when we woke up before we hit the Rainbow Terrace Trail.
So we made camp at I guess just like a pre-designated place. You can see there's a trailer back there for side-by-sides and whatnot. So this is frequently used. It's also a free range cattle range, so there's cows roaming around out here. That's pretty cool. But we're really in the middle of nowhere. I think we're at least an hour out from any major road and surrounded by just rocks and dirt. So it's pretty cool. But we're getting, we got a quick start this morning. We're gonna try and get a lot of stuff done, including the trail today, and find our camp, either at Gemini or something near Moab, Canyonlands, etc. So we'll keep packing up. Yeah.
So we make our way through the trail, and it begins to become less and less sandy and more rock. So we come to a point on the trail, and it's kind of hard to describe, but to our right for probably a couple miles is just flat and arid, but immediately to our left is this huge rock formation. And it's part of how Rainbow Terrace actually gets its name, because if you look at it, you see different colors, different layers in the rock. And if you kind of stand back and take a look at it, it looks just like a rainbow.
We round the corner and kind of approach a large boulder on the left, and he comes to a stop. I'm like, oh great, what is it? So he gets out and looks around. I wait for a little bit, and then he's still looking around, and I'm like, all right, I think we need to go check out what's going on. We walk over to the first ledge. Like, this is steeper than I anticipated. This does not look like a moderate trail. We started looking, and we're like, all right, well, we could easily do this though if we, put rocks here or use this boulder for one set of tires, etc. So we start piecing our way through the puzzle, and there ends up being 3 stair steps all the way down to the bottom of this wash.
There you go.
Let's watch the exhaust.
All you need to do is be. You look perfectly clear on the sides. So you don't drop your bumper. There you go. That's it. Bumper didn't even. Thank you, fuzzy spot.
So we end up going down it, and we get everybody through. We had, I think, Dan and Steven marshaling for us. And we make it through all the steps without any issues.
Yeah.
There you go. Perfect. Drop. There it is. There you go. Clear.
It was very, very easy, so apologize for it not looking, intense and dangerous, but we weren't in there for really the off-roading difficulty. We were there to see the scenery.
It was actually just the right amount of entertainment for us for this trip. And then we got going farther south, and we got to the rainbow part of the trail. So there's a big wall toward the southern end of the trail where you can see the coloring in the rock wall, and it literally looks like a rainbow is basically etched into the side of this mountain. So that was a very awesome sight to behold.
So we continue on. We hit paved road and proceeded to the entrance to Schaefer Trail.
At the beginning of the Schaefer Trail, this is part of the new rules that we found out in October. There was a ranger at the beginning of the trail who stopped me and said, "Who's all in your party and where are you guys going?" So we just kind of explained to him, really nice guy. And I thought it was pretty interesting. He said, "It looks like you guys might know what you're doing based on your vehicles, but keep in mind, one wrong rock bump could be your last." Because looking off the side of the rock face, or at the side of the cliff, I mean, it's 1,000-foot drop or so off the Schaefer Trail. So it really wasn't terribly treacherous, but you know, if you weren't paying attention and you were looking at the scenery, you really could drive off to your doom.